Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We have come together once again for another episode of the Best Coast Sports Connection. Andy Bishop, Brian Vilvin, Thomas Conroy. Episode 17, a salute to Phillip Rivers.
Perfect timing, too, right? Phillip Rivers is all over the news right now, and we got nothing but love for him here at the BCSC. Episode 17, we made it.
And there goes another interception. No, I'm joking.
Hey, now.
I'm joking.
Hey.
We're here in Mission Valley in the heart of San Diego, and we've survived what some San Diegans see as a monsoon the last couple days. We've seen our first rain here this fall, so we made it here. We're surviving, and it's good to be back.
The first rain always reminds me that I need new windshield wipers and probably new tires on my car. Things I just really don't ever use. It's been months since we've had any rain, except for like the little annoying like sprinkles that just get your car super dirty. But this is like a real good dusting.
I knew,
couple inches or
I knew
something.
It was going to hit me yesterday when I was going up to North County, 3 o'clock, La Jolla. I wanted to get out by 2:30, 2:45 from work, but didn't get out till 3:15. An hour from La Jolla to Carlsbad, 20 miles.
Yeah, Matthew trying to go from Santee to Carlsbad, that didn't sound very fun. But
Is
you
he
braved
still
the
driving
elements.
back?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, people always make fun of us in San Diego, how we don't know how to drive in the rain. Well, we don't because we never do.
Yeah.
And it is just a total mess. And, like, it's covered on the news and everything, but that's because traffic gets so much worse. And it really is the only story going when it happens. Mm-hmm. So, like, we can make fun of it all we want, but it is news. Like, when something very rare happens, then you got to talk about it. And when it affects everybody, people want to know. So, like, I feel like it's Anchorman or something, and they're like, Storm Watch 2019. But, you know, it kind of feels that way.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
real life.
Real
okay?
life struggles here in America's finest.
We had 80 degrees all weekend, and, yeah, that was a beautiful weekend. Well, we're talking about an Arctic freeze everywhere else in the country, so I guess we deserve a little rain.
Yeah, certainly.
We'll survive.
Yeah, we will. Speaking of such, Survivor drama
Yeah, he
in the
would bring that up.
BCSC Survivor pool. So it's been a week plus since we last met.
Yep.
So there's been 2 NFL Sunday weekends where we've had our Survivor pool going on. 2 Sundays ago, we were down to 11 teams. All 11 picks lost. And it was because 8 people, including you, Thomas,
Yes.
took the Saints. How are you feeling on that as they lost to their division rival, the Atlanta Falcons, coming into that game 1-7?
I thought there was no way in hell they were going to lose to the Falcons. They were home. They were coming off a bye week. Drew Brees was going to be starting, and he had like literally one of his worst games as a quarterback. I think he barely threw for over 200 yards. And when I saw, I was like, I kept the stats on my phone, and it was like, oh, he went 10 for 13. I'm like, oh my God, he must be blistering that defense. And it was for 79 yards. I was like, uh-oh. This one's over, folks. And then when he threw that incomplete pass on 4th down, I think it was like 21-3, something of that nature. I was like, this one's goodbye. And then my mom, who was keeping track of even though she was eliminated, she still keeps track of it. She texted me that the Indianapolis Colts were losing. So I was like, what? Because I knew everybody either had the Saints or the Colts. And
Yep.
So then I immediately went to my computer and I watched the Colts-Dolphins game from Gamecast on ESPN. So that was fun.
So you rooted against my poor sister and father?
I thought it was totally
Wow.
coming down to 2 of the Vilvin clan for that Sunday afternoon game with the Colts at home against the Dolphins. But it was not to be had. Another member of the Vilvin family, I don't know.
Oh,
Somebody out there didn't make a pick
Trevor.
in week. It was, I think, week 10, and but everybody else loses. So in
So
the
then he
survival,
advances.
if everybody loses, you advance. Whether the team you picked lost, whether it was
if
a
everybody
tie.
loses, then nobody loses.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's like the most Trevor thing to happen too. Like, Oh man, if you've never met Trevor, just imagine a person who's in a Survivor League and they forget to make a pick and they still advance. Like that is just Trevor. So
Yeah.
everything in the world for that guy is that exact scenario. So you all now know Trevor.
So 11 picks incorrect that week.
Yeah.
They all move on per the
Yeah.
rules. And then the next question was, and what brought some drama is
Oh, yeah.
whether the picks that were lost, whether you still get to pick those teams again because they lost. They didn't win.
Yeah.
So do you still have them in their pocket or not? And I, as a commissioner, I really have never come across this before.
Yeah.
And
question.
basically the way the website was that we set up said if you pick them, even if they've lost, you're done with them. You can't pick them again.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I had no problem with that. I mean, I had no problem with anything. I was so
Happy
tickled
to-
pink that I was playing again. I could care less. You told me I only could pick the Dolphins for the remainder of the season. I was going to do it.
That's so good.
And then the again going back to the no pick from Trevor, he didn't use a team, so he has teams that others picked that lost.
He technically has lost less teams than everybody else, so he gets an advantage by not.
And then
That's so Trevor.
My favorite thing is
Yeah.
last week going into week 11, he goes bold and picks the Saints, the team that 8 people had picked the previous week and had lost.
That's so mean.
Good. Yeah, right. So he picks the Saints this past week. Thomas, who'd you have? You had the Raiders, right?
I had the Raiders.
Yeah, Raiders at home against the Bengals. There were a couple people had the 49ers.
Yeah.
Ultimately, all 11 ended up winning. So we're back to where we were 3 weeks ago.
Unbelievable.
This is exciting. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, literally, like I never competed in anything like this, but it's really like it piques your interest even more in games than fantasy,
You're right.
because you're like, oh, how'd that game go? And then you're more interested in the scores to see like. Because now I keep everybody's like I get them Sunday morning, everybody's picks, and I
Yeah.
kind of just follow along. So it's been fun, and I enjoyed it. I didn't know I was going to enjoy it even more than I am, and it's really exciting. And man, I think this thing's going to go past Thanksgiving for sure.
This thing might go to the playoffs.
Is that a thing? Has that ever happened?
In all the ones that I've been in, I've never seen it. It's like week 14, 15,
Right.
boom, done. But I mean, with
What-
11 people still alive going into week 12,
But what happens in the playoffs? Like,
then I gotta
do you-
figure something out.
because all the playoff teams should probably
it would
have
it
been
would probably
picked,
be a
right?
reset of sorts. And
But Trevor's out.
I already and it may be something like this, depending on how many people make it to the playoffs. Maybe a thing where you have to pick 2 teams to win.
Oh, you got to win 2. 2
I
of the
already
4 games.
Know that
Ooh.
I'm going to implement that for next year's Survivor, where maybe like every 5th week you have
gotta
to
pick
pick 2
2?
teams. Like week 5,
Ooh,
week
I
10,
like that.
right?
I like that.
I was
a lot.
almost going to do it this year, but because
so
it
many
was
newbies and
such
stuff,
a new
yeah,
thing, I was
yeah.
like, we'll just take it one season at a time.
Yeah. You like those reality shows, double elimination.
That is awesome.
That's great.
I wouldn't know what it feels like to watch these games with purpose, like the way Thomas does and the way the rest of my family does. But they sure keep track. And
Your favorite team, the Jets, looked pretty good against the Redskins this last week.
the freaking Jets, man. The Jets look so bad every single week. How could they possibly have beaten the Cowboys? I don't. But I picked them this last week in my my other pool, not Survivor, but like where we pick all the games. So I finally had faith in those Jets, and they didn't let me down.
So, Thomas, you move on one more week. Week 12. I mean, you got any premonition on who you're going with this week?
I'm strongly considering the Steelers over the Bengals. And the only reason is because I think the Steelers, after 10 days of all that controversy with Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph, I think are just going to come out and I hope dismantle the Bengals. I just think they have to be sick of all the media coverage of this incident, and that's the only reason I would not. I don't think I would pick the Steelers if it wasn't for that reason. Quite frankly, like we talked off air. I don't like per se, division matchups, but this one I just think is just prime for them to just like an old classic 45-0 affair.
Well, the Bengals got to be the best 0-10 team I've ever seen. Just kidding. Trying to make any argument against Thomas. No, that's the right pick, I think.
Yeah.
Again, division games a little bit tricky, but the Bengals have shown nothing since that Week 1 near defeat of Seattle on the road.
Oh, that's right.
That had people potentially believing in the Bengals and not believing in Seattle. How wrong we were after that first week. But, yeah, the Bengals have become the new Dolphins, just kind of chase them around the board.
Yeah.
If you got 6 more weeks and you can pick the team that they're playing against 6 times, go for it. And then you'll have to come to Andy's, crazy pick all the games and the points totals in the playoffs.
Oh man, we could. It might be.
And
It'd have to
quarterback
be, I would-
yards and
Pick your favorite letter.
I would.
which team of referees is going to throw more flags?
So good. So many ways we could go with that. But I would consult you guys for sure. Well, maybe not Thomas because of your. If
Thomas
you were
would be
to be
well, yeah.
But no, it'll be fun, and I wouldn't have expected anything less from this initial Survivor League with the BCSC. Best of luck to you, Thomas. We're still
Thank you.
pulling for you.
Thanks for
Make
setting
us
it up,
proud.
Andy.
Yeah.
It's
What
been
a
really fun.
cool thing to talk about and get people getting excited. And even though I've been out, it's been fun to follow.
Next year we're doubling the fee, so it's worth
Perfect.
$2,000. We'll see.
Doubling the fee and doubling
Yeah.
the number of people.
Exactly. Okay, so Thomas, you mentioned the drama with in the AFC North with the Browns and the Steelers with Myles Garrett and his actions at the end of that game last week. Were you guys watching that game live, or did you just happen to catch the highlights?
I was not watching the game, but I jumped on Twitter shortly after the game ended, and I was like, what the heck did I miss? And went back and watched all the, every angle and every breakdown that you could possibly imagine. I was pretty shocked. You guys watch it live? Anybody see it as
I
it
was
happened?
watching the game live, but I turned it off because the game, it seemed like the end of the game.
Because there
and
was
I
10
just like-
seconds left in a
Yeah,
two-score
so-
game between two teams we don't care about.
So I think I was watching either the Lakers or the Clippers, and then a friend of ours, Finn, texted me. He goes, "Did you just see a WWE event turn out in Cleveland?" I was like, "What?" And then you, Brian, I just went on Twitter, and when I watched it, I literally thought it was doctored the film, but it was I couldn't
know.
believe it.
I know.
Yeah, I was watching it live, and it it's kind of meaningless towards the end of the game, and so you don't really think anything's happening or gonna happen, and a guy uses a helmet as a weapon.
I know.
It was kind of one of those moments where I was stunned. It reminded me, as I was talking with Thomas before we came on air, here about the melee in Motown where Ron Artest went up into the stands, where it's just like, what is going on? Something you've never seen before. And just that type of action, it's obviously in such a quick moment, but for somebody to do that and use that as a weapon, it's obviously scary. I mean, what could have happened, it could have been even worse, obviously.
Yeah. That happened in a high school game a couple weeks ago up in Northern California. There were suspensions, crazy stuff, but a kid lost his helmet, and then one of the other players from the other teams threw the helmet at the kid. So I thought that was really bad. But then to see an NFL player, someone as big and strong as Myles Garrett, do that, he is really lucky he didn't connect. And that is, you could die. Oh, God, I hate to think about how much worse it could have been. That's just, I get the heebie-jeebies thinking about it.
What did you guys think about the Pouncey, the center for the Steelers, kicking Garrett in the end zone?
I mean, any offensive lineman is going to do that if
Yeah.
somebody attacks his quarterback. So I don't really blame him for that.
Right.
The NFL obviously has to suspend him just for, his actions and, use of violence. But, I mean, I really don't blame him based on what Garrett did.
I don't blame him, but it goes back to something I've wondered forever. Why would you punch or kick a guy in the helmet? I see guys punching dudes in their helmet oh, I'm going to hit your face mask. I'm going to hit the side of your head. What the heck is the point of that? if you get his helmet off and you're punching and kicking him, like now you're doing some damage. But I don't know, man. He's got exposed areas. Go after that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never understood that.
Technically, you're supposed to grab the face mask. And I was taught and turn it. So then they become defenseless, and then you could power them down to the ground, and then. Well, I'm not gonna get graphic.
I mean, you just said you're gonna grab him by the face mask, turn it, and drive him into the ground. I'd say that's pretty graphic. Where do you go from there?
I've heard then you could put your knee into their throat and choke them. That's all hearsay. Next topic.
Thomas would never
Thomas
do
is
that.
our resident center on the football team.
So yeah, I mean, obviously ramifications coming from that. I think even Rudolph, the quarterback, is going to likely get some type of fine, which, of course, he initiated it to some degree, but
Well, so
no excuse for what Garrett did.
this was a topic of debate between a lot of people. I understand that it probably wouldn't have happened if Rudolph hadn't, tried to rip at Myles Garrett's helmet, but that still doesn't justify the response, right? Like, where do you guys land on, well, Rudolph started it, like, he brought it upon himself, and, like, that's what happens when you mess with somebody, like, you're going to get, if it's someone who can whoop your behind, he's going to whoop your behind. Like, I don't know. I don't think it justifies what happened at all.
No, I mean, yeah, you said it. Nothing would have come if he didn't initiate it, but to not only rip the helmet off, I mean, that's bad enough.
Yeah.
But then instead of just letting it play out and throwing the helmet away or messing with the offensive lineman or whatever, but number one, when you use that as a weapon and when you do that against the quarterback, the pride, position in the NFL, there's just, things are going to come about from that you can't really explain.
Totally. Well, even if he had like punched him with a fist, that's not as bad as what he did.
Yeah.
Like what he did it's beyond comprehension. I don't know. To see an NFL player do it, it's unimaginable. Like I couldn't even believe that it happened, and not watching it live, like Thomas said, it felt like it was doctored video. Like there's no way this really happened. In the game, I don't know. He's kind of lucky he didn't get arrested. Like, that happens out in the real world, not in like this fictitious place of the football field. Like, I don't know. I feel like you're riding in a cop car downtown.
Yeah, that's some assault right there.
Yeah.
Of course, Rudolph, the day after, came out saying he wasn't going to take any type of legal action against Garrett, so nothing came about from that in that regard. But yeah, crazy stuff.
That was so insane. I always question, Greg Williams is a defensive coordinator, or he was there last year, I should say. He was a defensive coordinator and then the head coach. And he had questionable, when he was with the Saints, he was
Bounty Gate.
Yeah, with Brett Favre. And I just wonder if that mentality kind of is still there. Where Garrett, like, to me, my thing with Garrett is it was 8 seconds left. Like what did you just want to pad your stats and get another sack? I mean, I thought Odell Beckham Jr. had the best comment of the night. Yeah, we won the game, but it still feels like a loss. Like there was something missing in their locker room when I watched the post game, because after I saw it on Twitter, I immediately went to NFL Network to watch the post game, and that was a pretty somber, locker room for a team that kind of just basically saved their lives with that victory. And, I don't know. It makes me scratch my head. I don't understand the purpose in it. I mean, you won the game, and, now you get 10 days to prepare. I think the Dolphins are coming in there, and, so you get 2 in a row, and suddenly you're back in the playoff talk. And now it just seems like they're back to square one again, the Browns. Never can get it forward. They get something going positive-wise.
Yeah. Tough to see for them. I mean, a franchise that's always mired in disappointment, just another piece there. Well, we mentioned it's episode 17. Phillip Rivers, one of our favorite NFL players of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Former San Diego Charger, now a Los Angeles Charger. Kind of trending towards the end of his career. Rough night on Monday night for him in front of the nation. as they battled the Chiefs in Mexico City. He's at the end of his contract. A lot of speculation pointing to the fact that he may no longer be a Charger at the end of this season. What are your feelings on Phillip Rivers, Brian?
I love the guy. That's the first feeling. So anything I say about him will be entirely biased toward the I'm going to defend him. I'm going to be an apologist for him, and anything I can do. I don't like the franchise he plays for because of what they did, but he has handled himself like a total professional and still lives here, loves San Diego, and we love Phillip Rivers. So not going to ever slander that guy. But I do think he's probably done. His Charger career will be over at the end of this season.
Yeah.
I don't know where he ends up. I don't think he's going to retire. I honestly think he's going to play somewhere. And I hope he does, because whether it's the Broncos or Tennessee or, wherever he ends up, I'm going to be a huge fan of that team. I'm going to be on board with him, and I think they're going to get themselves a heck of a quarterback who's got a lot left to prove. I think he's making the Chargers seem better than they are, and I love Phillip Rivers. The end.
Well said. I agree with you. He's still got 2 or 3 years left, in my opinion, and I think there's certainly a handful of teams that could use an improvement at the quarterback position. So why not sign this guy? He's had times in his career where he's played like this, where he's maybe thrown more interceptions, not had as good of an offensive line, has to take more of those risks as a quarterback, throwing it deep into double coverage, and there's going to be games when you throw 3 or 4 interceptions. So it's another typical Chargers year where they're in so many games, so many come down to the wire that they don't win. Not that we really care anymore, but at 4-7, not likely to make the playoffs. So
every loss has been a single possession, right?
Yes.
I think. Yep. 7. Ooh, that's rough.
Formerly we'd be in a depression, but now it's just some laughs, but still feeling for Phillip.
Yep, totally.
Any thoughts on that, Thomas?
Yeah, it's so weird. After that game, I've been battling the LA Charger fans on Twitter and on instant messaging. It's just like, they're like, oh, well, he had 7 interceptions, and, he's done. He can't throw the football. And I'm all like, yeah, he threw for 353 yards. It was all his fault. And then the prior week against Oakland, he threw the 3 interceptions, granted, but he also drove that team down for that the go-ahead touchdown late in the game. And the defense, gave up, the touchdown for the Raiders to win in that game. I mean, mostly to Josh Jacobs. And, to me, he always gets the blame, and it didn't matter if it was here in San Diego or up in Carson. He's always the focal point of whether they're good or not. And to me, it just boggles my mind, because the guy is a good quarterback. And, I'm with you, Brian. I think he's going to retire, but I hope not, because I just want him to have that one last playoff run with a team that has, that has a decent shot of making the playoffs. And I just want to see what he can do with a little bit more around him. I mean, it kills me to watch him sometimes, make the same mistakes over and over again. And I don't know, I just always shake my head. And, that game was like, even when he threw that 4th interception, they had an opportunity to go downfield.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's always something. And I don't know. I mean, it's funny. I was thinking about when his rookie season, and they had one loss, and you were just like, wow, what is this guy like? Is this guy going to lead us finally to a Super Bowl? And it was, I remember games like with Seattle that year where it was in the pouring rain, and he just threw the ball like you wouldn't believe. And it's just so frustrating. And now from like a different perspective, where I don't have I don't really care what happens, but you just kind of want to watch him perform sometimes.
Yep.
And I don't know, I just sometimes just shake my head. I really don't. I can't pinpoint it. It's like, I think he gets too much. My only argument is I think they pin it so much on him because he's the quarterback, but there's a lot more going around there. I think the move has a lot to do with the team. I don't think the team is fully comfortable in their stadium. I don't think they, it's just so many factors. You know, they practice in Costa Mesa, they play in Carson, they go to Mexico City. Like, I don't get it.
Eventually going to
They
London.
go to London. Yeah.
It's like, you know, follow the charges as they go around the world. It's just like it's a mess.
The traveling circus. Well, we go from the woman that divorced us to our true love here in San Diego, the San Diego Padres.
Yeah.
Big news, baby.
Brought back the blue. Oh, wait.
Yeah, Brian's rocking.
What? Did I miss
Well,
it?
this is throwback now,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, throwback to
It's
the
like
90s.
Extreme throwback. This is like 3 uniforms ago. All right, 3
So,
generations of Padres.
With those colors in the 90s, they did rock the
Yeah.
pinstripes.
They sure did.
And now we're back to the pinstripes with
Ho,
the
ho, ho,
brown
baby.
and gold.
I'm so glad they went with the pinstripes. Also, the anticipation that day, like even leading up to it, the moment we knew November 9th was the date, it felt like November 9th was Christmas and it just couldn't get here fast enough. So for that whole day, like I had a bunch of work stuff going on, so I didn't have to pay too much attention. But even like dragging out the release itself, like it starts at 6. Okay, well then 7 o'clock we're gonna unveil the actual uniforms. Then it actually ended up being about 7:30 because they had
Yeah.
to do all the preamble stuff. So man, they dragged it out.
Yeah.
and it was so worth it.
I
though.
forget where exactly I was when it was happening, but I was on my phone, and I was trying to watch it on, I think, both Twitter and Facebook, and it was supposed to go live,
Yeah.
but I felt like it wasn't up right away.
It wasn't,
I think
no.
I had to go on Padres.com to where it was actually going live. But yeah, a lot of fun with Eric Hosmer and Fernando Tatis and Manny Machado rocking the new jerseys. Pretty special.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to see your Jace Tingler jersey
Yes,
in
I
effect,
know.
so you didn't get to see number 32.
Which one of those I have to go with? I don't know. I like. So okay, so they have the home jerseys, the white
Yep.
with the brown pinstripe,
Yeah.
big Padres
Yeah.
lettering, as you pointed out. That was pretty noticeable. And then, are the brown ones the road ones, or is the
So-
sand is the road?
The brown ones are the primary road
Road.
uniform,
Uh-huh.
but MLB said that every team has to have a light-colored road option. So they, like, I guess last minute threw together the road pinstripe uniform, which it seems like everybody likes that
Yeah.
the best, like because that one is, man, it's cool looking. You got like kind of the tan color with the brown pinstripes, the San Diego word mark. Yeah, I really like that one a lot. I like the entire set. I just love the idea of going back to brown. I think they did a nice job with it. Yeah, my one thing that I couldn't really get over right at the beginning was how big the word mark was for Padres on the home white uniform. But and then I've seen it in the flesh a couple of times, and it doesn't look noticeably big or weird, and it's magical. It's gorgeous. It's perfect.
And there's been such a big push over the last decade, almost, I would say, at least 7-8 years
Easy,
within the
easy.
Friar faithful.
Yep, totally.
To bring back the brown.
Yep.
And for so many people that have been very negative about them not bringing back the brown for
Yeah.
for so many years, excuse me, it seemed like there was almost entirely positive reviews across the board, which was cool to see.
And that's so rare. Like,
Yeah.
Padres Twitter and Twitter in general can't agree on anything,
Uh-huh.
except for the fact that everybody loved what the Padres did. And I think part of that was because it was a nod to the fans. Like, the fans have been clamoring for, we need this. This is our identity. Like, give this to us. And the organization answered, and they answered in a big way. They had a lot of input from fans and help with designs and all that stuff. And, yeah, universal acceptance of they knocked it out of the park. And I love it. That's so rare these days in anything, let alone a new uniform. So
I'll tell you,
Super
Brian,
stoked.
I was nervous. I really was.
they're
I
going to
was-
screw it up.
I was so nervous, and I really wasn't a big pinstripe guy, you know, and I was, you know, just texting with people that day because we were all in anticipation, and especially my buddy from Las Vegas, Dan, we were both like texting each other. I go, man, if they go to pinstripes, I'm going to be really pissed. And he was like, oh, I don't know, don't do that. So we were kind of just going back and forth, and then I had to put like an addendum. I said addendum. I just seen the jersey, and I really like DeSantis. See, I thought that was the road jersey when I
Yeah.
first saw it.
Yeah, me too.
And I was like, wow, that is my favorite one. I mean, that jersey just looks so sharp. It's
It is.
amazing.
Yep.
I just like the sand, the stripes, and the brand. It all just mixed right.
Yep.
And you know, and I really don't have a problem with any of them.
Yeah.
That's the best thing about it is you know, they did a great job in getting it right, and it's gonna be so much fun to watch them play in all three styles, and you know, now it's even firing me up more for the season.
Yep.
Yep. They'll as they've been for a long time, be rocking the military jerseys on Sunday home
Yep.
games, which will be brown based, as opposed to the ones that have been a little bit more blue the last several years. So man, we're gonna be looking good this year.
We're gonna look real good.
Now the question is, what the hell are we gonna do with our on-field product?
Who's gonna be on the team? Who's gonna be in the rotation? Yeah, a lot of question marks left.
So last time we talked, you
Yep.
know, free agency was in its infancy.
Yep.
So, you know, obviously nothing really happening at this point. Our boy that we've wanted, we've been talking about, Steven Strasburg, San Diego State product. A lot of reports saying, you know, he might be outside our ballpark for our payroll capabilities.
Yep.
You have any thoughts on that, or what they might do as opposed to going with Strasburg?
It's so strange because there was so much heat under the stove a couple weeks ago, and now the stove is just ice cold again. Nothing has happened anywhere. I mean, there was the Will Smith signing, which was just kind of a small little brush under the rug signing with Atlanta, but it's crazy to me how little talk there's been about anything, and especially regarding Strasburg and potentially his signing with the Padres. And we're hearing conflicting reports. You know, Kevin Acey's come out and said there's no chance for signing him, and then he said we're in play for him, and then he said there's no chance for signing. Like, he's flip-flopping back and forth, and so I have no idea what's going to happen with anyone, but I do believe that there is a plan in place, and that with Preller and Tingley, they're going to get something going. We're going to get a frontline starter in here to join the younger guys, and we're going to be ready. Whether that's a frontline like a Zach Wheeler type, or whether it's a
Mad
Steven
Bum?
Strasburg or Mad Bum, dude, I'd go
I'd
for
take
it.
him.
He's younger than Strasburg,
Yep.
which is weird to think, but yeah. That's I know nothing. Clearly,
Same.
everyone out there already knows that, though.
Thomas, what do you got for us, Mr. Insider?
I think it's going to be. I think Bumgarner is going to come here because I think. I just got the feeling with Gabe Kapler getting hired by the Giants that they're kind of just want to take everything away. Not. I don't want to say they're trying to. I think they're trying to separate themselves from the Bosey era up there.
Yeah.
And I just think it for them is like start anew, and I don't think he's in their plans. I don't think he's you know, I think he's at that age by the time they get good again, he might be a second or third starter. And I think with the way this team is, I think they can convince him to come down here, 2 or 3 year deal, and all he has to do is talk to Bruce Bochy, who lives in Poway. So
Yeah.
he'll be right. That'll be easy for him to get it. Oh, did you
We
think
got
he was
a
here?
downpour.
I don't know what
Easy.
that was, but it sounds like there's a river outside. I'm
Oh,
sorry to
okay.
interrupt, man. The rain outside
yeah,
is
it
crazy.
Whew, good to be inside.
Wow. All right.
Sorry.
Live here at McGregor's. By the way, you can probably see these on your screen.
Oh, yeah.
Some house chips. I already downed about half of them before we went on, so they'll probably be gone by the end of this episode.
Yes.
Yeah, really surprising. You muscled the waitress to get those. That was
Yeah.
a little out of your ordinary.
Milvin likely going with the chicken strips after we're done here.
Am I that predictable? Because, of course, that's what I'm going to get.
The winter meetings down here in San Diego
Yeah.
for Major League Baseball here in a few weeks. Might do some trolling down there. See if I can find some folks.
See what we can find
not
out.
on behalf of the
Of the
podcast
connection.
here.
Well, we'll find out if any action happens.
So
there.
as all of us here interested in working in the sports industry over time,
Yep.
there are so many people that would always want to go to the winter meetings. and they pay like $250, $300 to get in. But from what I've heard is you can actually do a lot of networking without actually paying
Any
to go
money?
into the meetings. A lot of the executives hang out at the hotels, hang out at the bar, and if you meet the right person or whatever,
Interesting.
maybe we'll have a media pass for the Padres season.
Ooh.
No, I'm kidding. Well, I
No,
don't know.
he's not. He's not kidding at all.
I'm gonna bother some folks. Oh, not bother, just reach
We'll
out.
get some more content up on the
Yeah,
website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Website. I need to put some work in on that.
Yep.
We all do, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, we've been
lacking.
slacking, but we'll
Yeah.
we'll get it going.
Been super
Yep.
busy with work.
Yep, totally.
All right, where to go to next?
Well, you
Basketball?
guys both
Oh,
have
oh,
a
so
San Diego State
That's right.
sweatshirt and zip up on, so we could talk a little Aztec basketball.
Do it. Aztecs.
Oh wait, actually, before we go to Aztec basketball, I do want to talk about this. Aztec football. I saw one of the funniest tweets ever, and it just rang so true. So, the Aztec football team. This person said, if you told preseason me that the Aztecs would, and then it goes through this list: be 8-2, beat UCLA on the road, be in control of their destiny in the conference, like still have a chance, be one win away from playing for the conference championship, take back the oil can from Fresno State, top 5 defense in the country, like all these things. And we're all upset about it. Like we all think the season's a failure.
Yep.
They're like, what the hell are we thinking? And it's true, because as fans, we have different goals for a team than the team themselves has. Rocky Long has always talked about the number one goal is to win the division and then play for the conference championship, win that, or become bowl eligible, win your side of the Mountain West, make it to the Mountain West championship and win it, go to a bowl game and win the bowl game. So he doesn't have visions of got to go 12-0 and play in the Cotton Bowl, but that's what the fans see.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, if we can get to 11-1 and then 12-1, we can go to the Cotton Bowl, and we're trying to go through all these scenarios. And anything short of that is a failure disaster. But for the team themselves, they are having a really nice year. 8-2. If they win at Hawaii this weekend, then they'll play for the Mountain West Championship against Boise, likely. And hats off to San Diego State on another awesome year. They're probably going to get to double-digit wins again, which is just standard San Diego State football, always double-digit wins. So before we go to basketball there, I just want to give a little love to
I
the
can't wait to
Aztecs.
see them in a brand new stadium.
Yeah, man. that'll be
Whenever
fun.
exactly it's going to happen, I'm not sure, but
We'll be there.
they deserve that.
If this rain ever slows down,
right?
then maybe they'll be able to build something in Mission Valley.
It's coming
It's
down
really
yesterday.
crazy, man.
We kind of had a break here midday, and man,
We're never going to
We'll
be able to
take
get
it.
this equipment outside, though,
Yeah.
with this downpour. Mission Valley is going to flood, too. The roads are all going to be closed around
It's
here.
going to be so bad.
Oh,
San
that should
Diego
be
River.
fun.
We now live at McGregor's. So
Yeah.
Shack it up here.
Yep. But the city championship tonight, that was where we were going
Yep.
for my big tangent.
That's a big one tonight. It's at Jenny Craig, and you were telling us earlier that this might be the last time they play each other, or like there's talk of it.
Yeah, the deal that they have, they've been switching off, every other year playing home and away with each other, and they don't have anything set for the future. And the Aztecs, they really have nothing to gain from playing these games.
Yeah.
And it's tough to say because, this is your city rival, and they've been playing for so long, and, as fans, we love to see it because
Yep.
it's like, oh, San Diego State, USD, great. But if San Diego State loses the game to USD, whose RPI is 348 out of 350, they will not make the NCAA tournament. They have no chance at an at-large bid. There's just so much that they can lose from it. And if they beat USD, everyone's like, well, yeah, you're supposed to beat
Yeah,
them.
you're
duh.
supposed to do that every year.
So it's one of those win-win-win-lose situation. No. They can only, even if they win, it's not even like a win. So the Aztecs have nothing to gain. USD loves it and has that's what they play for. So I'd love to see it stick around, but I totally get where the Aztecs are coming from. And next year, UCSD is going Division I. So we'll have 3 D1 teams in town.
Yeah.
And I feel like they should have a 3-way every year where
Every
they all
year.
play each other. And then we have a real city champion instead of just this one game. Nothing.
So good. Love it. Early season going on here for the Aztecs. Big win against BYU
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago. I watched
was.
most of that game. That was a lot of fun.
Yep.
So that's a awesome early season road victory. I don't know. It's hard to know what things are going to look like in the Mountain West for this season. I haven't really read up on too much stuff, but
Well, if you go to bcsportsconnect.com, you'll be able to find a preview of the Aztecs basketball season by none other than Thomas Conroy. Thomas, what are your thoughts so far on the Aztecs? That was a great write-up, by the way. If you haven't read it, go check it out.
Well, their backcourt is amazing. I mean, I really didn't know too much about Flynn and Fagan. And
Yep.
boy, watching them, I watched like Andy did. I watched the BYU game. And,
Me as well.
And Malachi Flynn won that game by himself. I thought him coming off the bench just gave them the added spark, and now I think he's in the starting lineup. But boy, he showed you that spark that they haven't had in a while, and he's a great passer, can definitely shoot the basketball
Yeah.
and score. And it's a weird team. I think they have the guard play, but it's really going to come down to the front court. And the Mountain West is notorious to have big front lines.
Yeah.
And to me, that's where it's going to come down to in league play is can this front line kind of pick up their play and compete with these teams? Because I think they're going to have the better guard play all throughout the year, but it's really going to be about the consistency with the front court, and they did an excellent job against BYU, who has a pretty physical team. So, I love the Mountain West. UNLV has always been a great rival, and Colorado State I think is going to have an outstanding team, and Utah State is going to have a good team. So it's going to be a pretty good looking conference this year, and I'm probably Fresno State's going to have a decent team too.
Yeah, New Mexico's always good.
Yeah, New Mexico,
Nevada
there's
just
so
lost
many.
2 players to the NBA.
Yeah.
they're going to be down, but they've
Yeah.
been good. It's been a really good conference. Yeah.
It's one of the few conferences that I think that doesn't get a lot of recognition nationwide. I think it's really good from top to bottom. Even the poor teams can kind of come in at on any given night, and especially home and on the road.
You got to
and
go
play a tough
play
night.
in Colorado.
Yeah.
You got to go play in Wyoming, like
Yeah.
6 miles in the air. and- yeah, that's brutal. It's a brutal schedule for sure.
yeah, always excited when they finally start league play or conference play, I should say. So looking forward to that.
One thing you mentioned, Thomas, they have really good guards this year. That's been a staple of the really good Aztec basketball teams is the guard play. Back from, like DJ Gay running the show when, they had a really strong front court, but Gay was someone who you could put the ball in his hands at the end of the game, and he was going to make something happen. Xavier Thames, really solid. Chase Tapley, like guards who can handle the ball and who can score have been a huge asset to the really good Aztec teams we think about over the last decade plus. So that gives me reason to be fired up about where this team could go and what's on the horizon. They just got to take care of business tonight against those pesky Toreros who have beaten them 2 out of the last 4 years. So this one will be the rubber
Fun
match
fact.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, I went to that debacle at Petco.
Yeah,
Oh.
me too. I loved it. It was a really cool atmosphere and
When
event.
was that?
2, maybe 3 years ago they played at Petco.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really fun. But USD beat them, and the Aztecs missed the NCAA tournament pretty much because of that. So,
Yeah.
yep.
And tonight it's at Jenny Craig, so it's
Yep.
going to be that atmosphere is always crazy.
Sure
So it
is.
should be a
Slim
great-
Jim,
yeah.
baby.
But I think it's blacked out in San Diego because Fox Sports San Diego I think has a Ducks game tonight. So
I think isn't it on Fox Sports West though?
But I think they're blacking it out in San Diego because Fox Sports San Diego is going to delay it
The
until
game
like
is
10.
blacked out in San Diego.
I think so. Somebody told me that was going to happen because Fox Sports San Diego is going to show it at 10. I don't
the
know.
game's not going to be live.
Who's your source? Is it your bookie down the road?
Yeah, out your source right now. If it's Finbar, I'm attacking him. Okay.
Oh,
I
man.
can't even believe that. Are you serious? I mean,
That's
yes,
what I
you're
heard.
serious. Okay. All right. Well,
I don't see it on
we'll
here.
look into that. We'll
Yep.
have someone figure it out. Oh man,
I
that's
just bummed you out. I
yeah,
apologize.
you really did. You just you opened up my 8 to 10 hours there. Yeah.
All right, let's move
Have
to
some
the
potato chips.
Thanks.
Let's move to the hardwood at the professional level. Season slowly coming into form here. We're seeing some of the better teams. Bucks, Celtics in the East, just to name a couple, and of course the Los Angeles Lakers.
Oh,
That
them.
team. That team.
Those guys.
Brian's favorite.
I thought you were going to say the Golden State Warriors because you were talking about the best teams, and
Oh, that game was on behind us
it
earlier.
was. I think it's over, or
It was
maybe
like-
the mercy
it was-
rule happened because it was a 70-point.
It was
Mavs
49 to
lead.
20 at like midway through the second quarter.
It was also like 71 to 36. So that's pretty brutal. Poor Warriors, but those Lakers, baby, they are deep. They are solid. They've got the best player. Well, maybe Kawhi's the best player in the world, but they've got 2 of the 5 best players in the world. They've got really good complementary pieces. JaVale McGee is playing like he did a couple years ago with the Warriors when he was really instrumental in them winning the NBA title. Dwight Howard is having a resurgence. Rondo's kind of fitting his way in. Caruso's giving him some good minutes. Danny Green's shooting the hell out of the ball. KCP is like the 10th best player when 2 years ago he was the best player. Yeah, I don't know. I really like Quinn Cook's acquisition. The Lakers are fun and good, and it's awesome. And it's good for basketball.
Yeah.
And it's good for my well-being. I haven't had a team that I root for do well in like a really long time, so that's fun.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not a Lakers fan, but they are fun to watch, and it's always good when that franchise is in the mix
Yep.
and in the headlines. It just, I think, makes the NBA that much more appealing to watch. My team that's close to my heart, the Sacramento Kings,
Oh, yeah.
having lived up there during the days of C. Webb and Jason Williams and Vlade. They're one game outside of the playoffs if it were to start right now. So they're kind of middle of the road, but they've got a lot of young talent, so I'm keeping an eye on them. But going back to the Warriors, we talked about it before the season started about they're obviously not going to be the same team without Durant. You questioned as to whether they might be a playoff team. I said I would think they'd get in, as a really low seed, but they're at the bottom of the West right now.
Yeah, they are bad.
And obviously injuries have been a big part of it. Most recently, D'Angelo Russell. But, to go from NBA Finals to bottom dog.
NBA Finals for 5 straight years. It was so many years that we forgot how many years it was. We're
Big
like,
discussion
they just
pregame.
go to the finals every year. So what was it, 4 or 5? And yeah, we had a debate over that, what it was. That's how used to the Warriors in the finals we had been. So that type of drop-off is brutal. I'm marrying a Warriors fan next summer. She's just like, you know what? It's totally fine because we won everything and we're the best and it doesn't
They
really
got their
matter.
share.
Yeah. So she's like, okay, you can have a little fun now and maybe your team will make the playoffs.
She's gonna have a lot of free time on her hands this summer, so that's good.
No, she's not. She's gonna be watching all the finals. We watched. I guess maybe that's something that I hadn't considered, but we watched a ton of basketball when the Warriors were good because she really wanted to watch.
Yep.
Now that they're gonna be bad, I'm gonna have to beg her to watch a
How's
Laker
this
game with
relationship
me.
going to
Like,
work here?
I don't know. We've never dated where the Warriors weren't the best team. We're coming up on 4 years now, and like we said, they've been in the finals even the years before that. So we're gonna find out a lot about our relationship when the Lakers are in the finals. And I'm like, babe, we're gonna go watch the game at blah blah blah. And she's like, not really feeling it. And she's gonna put a Laker shirt on, and we're gonna have a good time. So,
Being
All
a
right.
Laker apologist, what's the one thing that scares you?
wow.
I mean, what's the one thing that scares you from not like getting a 1 seed?
Well, I feel like this team is a little bit older than I would normally be comfortable with when you're talking about an NBA season that's like 100 years long in one season. The fact that LeBron didn't play in the playoffs last year, I feel like he's going to be kind of fresh. Anthony Davis got to sit out like half of last year, so he'll be fresh. I don't know. I just feel like the NBA season is so long that teams have a hard time staying the course the entire way. and I feel like at some point this team will have a little bit of a drop off. And I just hope it's not so much that it drops them out of like a top 2 or 3 seed, because then when the playoffs come around, I think they'll be rejuvenated. You get that extra rest in between games. Like the NBA playoffs take forever, and LeBron plays at a totally different level, his defensive effort, and I think they're going to be able to shut people down. But I think age, and health, because guys can tweak stuff a lot easier. It takes longer to heal when you're old like that, and so that's kind of my big concern. But I'm trying not to think about that right now.
Who's the team in the West that could give you a problem? Besides the Clippers, obviously.
Houston, the Clippers, I think. And I think those end up being the last couple teams. But Houston has actually played pretty well. Mm-hmm. And I've watched a couple of Houston games, and it's crazy to me how Russell Westbrook, like the first game I watched for 20 minutes, and he was playing, and I didn't even realize it. I was like, Russell Westbrook is playing? I can't believe this. Like, it's totally James Harden's team. It's still the same game it was before. Westbrook seems, I don't know, in the limited amount that I've watched, he seemed to not be, a huge part of what they were doing. But that's a team that scares me when you have those two guys, and it is clicking. I think they've won 7 straight games, something like that. So I had question marks about them before the season, and now I think they're going to be a factor. You were talking about Luka Doncic. Wonder if he's going to be able to have a team to put something together in the West.
I'll be truthful. I watched the highlights last year, but I didn't really see any games per se of him. And then last week, TNT had the Mavericks and the Knicks, and even though the Mavs lost that game, he was by far the most eye-opening star of that game. I mean, he hit threes. He drove the lane with relative ease. I mean, that game really showed you why everybody thinks that he's like the heir apparent to LeBron as far as all-around game. I mean, it really opened my eyes. I was like, wow, he is legitimately like a superstar. And it so amazes me how some of these European players come in the NBA now and are fully ready to play, and really, you can't not take I remember growing up, it was, Darek Saric was like, he got picked ahead of a Carmelo Anthony, and he was like garbage. He only lasted 2 or 3 years and did nothing. But now it's like these guys are legitimate stars, and it really, so, you really see that the NBA, finally you kind of see it like, wow, this is a global league.
Global brand, yep.
Yeah. And Andy, for your team, was Luke Walton the right hire?
After it happened, it didn't look like it because of the sexual assault allegations that came out. But, I mean, he had time on the bench with the Warriors as an assistant coach, and then with the Lakers as well. So I think just those experience with those two teams, I think, gave him enough credence to be the coach. And they've had a lot of turnover, actually, over the offseason. So they have a couple young stars in De'Aaron Fox, Harry Giles, Marvin Bagley III. So they're a team of the future. They're going to be good, pretty good the next couple years. They could definitely make the playoffs this year. So I think he was the right hire.
That's what amazes me about the Western Conferences. I mean, you could literally say every team in the Western Conference is a pretty decent team.
Dude, the Phoenix Suns are pretty okay.
8th spot
That's what I mean.
now.
It's amazing. Oh, and by the way, I mentioned on our last podcast, I couldn't remember the Suns coach, and it's Monty Williams who.
Okay.
And he's so I want to give him credit for doing a
some love.
Thanks for listening, Monty.
So Monty, hey,
he's doing a bang-up job out there in Phoenix under
Monty
the
Williams
desert
was a great
sun.
bench player for the Knicks back in the day. So
Knicks apologist, this guy. Jeez Louise.
but
They're gonna have some company at the top of the lottery with the Warriors. They're all gonna have a lot of balls in that lottery. Sorry, Thomas. I take it back. I'm sorry.
The Knicks, they'll finish like 15th in the.
Yeah, they'll have the most balls in there, and they'll finish somehow out of the lottery.
Yeah. Unprecedented. Got the last pick of the lottery. Let's not go there. Let's end on a happy note.
Yeah,
Okay.
well
Phil
said.
Rivers just threw another interception.
I thought you said a happy note, Thomas. Now you're gonna make me cry.
That was for my LA Charger haters up there.
Okay, perfect. There's a lot of those.
Well said on the NBA commentary. I was just happy to see Venus Williams and Rob Gronkowski do some dancing with the Laker girls. Do they have a name besides the Laker girls, or is it?
I think it's the Laker
The
girls.
Laker
girls.
Yeah,
That's what the guy. The Laker girls.
that's a good impression.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thomas.
You gotta, Thomas, and when he's done with his broadcasting and writing, he's gonna go be a PA announcer at Staples Center.
Dude,
The
Gronk was
Laker
looking
girls.
pretty agile. He was doing like the full leg kick up and touching his hand all the way like a cheerleader, man.
So does that mean he's coming back?
He might be not this year.
Not this year?
Not this year. He
Oh,
said-
because
he
it's
said
because he's
19's
having his Super Bowl party.
Yep.
He's
19's
like,
out of the
"Ooh,
question.
sorry, can't play in the game. I gotta have a party.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been able to have a Super Bowl party in like 100 years because his team's in it every year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why he retired, because he so badly wanted to
Just-
confirm that he could have a
just
Super Bowl
enjoy the
party.
day.
Yeah, he's had to work Super Bowl Sunday for 8 of the last 10 years.
That was the most disturbing video. Did you guys happen to see that?
I heard the audio. I didn't
the
see
Gronk. It was like party
the
Gronk,
Gronk beach party.
good Gronk, and football Gronk, all in the same room, and
I love that guy though.
they're all like, "We can all go together." Set back television like 50 years.
Oh man. All right, guys. Any final words of wisdom as we end episode number 17?
Go Pods.
Padres, baby.
Let's make a trade before the next podcast.
All right, I'm with that.
I could go for a trade.
Yep, something to talk about.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm with it.
You okay giving up a few youngsters, young prospects?
Yeah, got to
Yeah.
get rid of them to make the major league team better. We've been hoarding them for so long that, yeah, gotta make it happen.
Some Luis Turins or Julio Reyes or something like that.
No, none of those guys though.
Oh.
No, just kidding.
Oh,
No matter
those
who
are
you say, I'm
untouchable.
gonna be like, ah.
Somebody, please. Somebody. Preller. All right, guys. Good work. Episode
Same here.
17 coming to an end. The rain has subsided. Thanks for joining me, guys.
Yep, happy to do
I'll
it.
let you sign off, Brian. I'm gonna enjoy these chips.
Yeah.
As Andy eats the delicious chips that you can get here at Beautiful McGregor's, our fine host in Mission Valley every single week. Thomas is getting in on the act too. Episode 17 in the books. We'll be back next week, probably. We may be taking a Thanksgiving break. The only way to find out is to check the website, check Facebook. We'll let you know. But thanks again for joining us. Episode 17 in the books. Fellas, boom.